MCAT knowledge, I just reviewed this with my tutor student, so you guys are going to get the same review. If you were only given the Km and Vmax values, could you tell me what kind of inhibition was going on? First, let's look at competitive inhibition. So the competitive inhibitor binds to the active site and competes with the substrate for that same active site. This is why the Km value increases, because we know that an increased Km value means a lower affinity for substrate. The affinity is lower because it's also trying to bind to the competitive inhibitor. They're competing. The Vmax does not change, however, because this inhibitor can be overcome by adding more substrate. And the more substrate you add, the higher chance that the substrate will bind instead of the inhibitor, which means the Vmax is unchanged. For non-competitive inhibition, the active site is free, so the substrate can still bind to the active site with no problem. That's why the Km does not change. However, the Vmax decreases because if a non-competitive inhibitor binds to the allosteric site, the enzyme changes shape. See how I made it a little more chubby on this side? With that changed shape, it's less effective at translating this substrate into product because remember, shape determines function. Lastly, we have our uncompetitive inhibitor. Now, this one's special because the uncompetitive inhibitor only binds to the enzyme substrate complex. So once the enzyme has bound to its substrate, this inhibitor might attach to the allosteric site. This causes both the Km and the Vmax to drop. Why? Well, the Vmax drops because this enzyme substrate complex is now stuck because of this uncompetitive inhibitor. So it can't turn this substrate to product and release it. So the Vmax goes down because this enzyme is essentially out of commission. The Km also goes down because we know that a low Km means a high affinity for substrate. This substrate is stuck inside the enzyme, so it's holding onto it so tightly that the affinity for this substrate molecule has increased, which means the Km has decreased. If you're confused, it's okay. I'm always confused on this, which is why I'm still reviewing it. So let me know if you have questions.